Hello, my name is Maryke Del Castillo and I was born in the Bay of Plenty in New Zealand, in the Northern Island, and the North Island of the Bay of New Zealand. And my mother's name is Joy, and Maryke actually means wished for one. So I've got a pretty fairy tale beginning. So with a beginning like that, it's not unusual that I would end up doing what I do now. And from there, I was a really shy child. Like, I really couldn't handle people looking at me. Even my grandmother, I found it really, I just used to hide whenever other people would come around, apart from my mum and dad and my sister. And it was like that for me for quite a number of years. And it wasn't until I was a lot older that I actually began a healing process that was precipitated by a breakdown, and I had an emotional breakdown. I was in Sydney studying to be an osteopath, doing a science degree. I was working part-time to pay the rent and everything, and I was really busy and very unhappy, and I didn't know who I was. I was just doing what I thought, I should be doing, because, you're supposed to get a career and kind of work out, something to do. And I really didn't know who I was. And it was only that kind of, I couldn't go on anymore, that I decided I just needed a big change. So I had a meeting with the head of department, and on that day I said, I've got to just stop what I'm doing and I've got to go out into the bush and heal. And I need to find out who I am and what I would like to do. And she tried to convince me, because I only had another half a year of university to go. She's like, just hang in there, it'll be all right. And I just knew in my heart, like, I have a very different journey, and this is not it. This is not it. I'm not part of this system, and I need to find out what it is that I'd like to do. So I remember leaving that day, and the sun was setting, and it was in Sydney University with these grand oak trees, like a big avenue, and I just walked into the sun setting, and the glow and the light, I just felt like, almost like hallelujah moment of this is where my life starts. And I lived up in the bush with no power or hot water, and it was like back to simplicity. And during that time I was surrounded by really creative people who were alternative, and I'd never been around alternative people before, people that thought differently. They were, a lot of people were quite themselves, and it was such a wonderful thing. I felt like I'd found my kindred spirits, and I had utter freedom in that area. I was in Northern Rivers, New South Wales, to just find myself and to play, because I had quite a stressful childhood growing up. My father was really violent, and I was quite a stressed little girl, so I never really got to have a carefree, like you'd say, a carefree childhood. So I took that time in the Northern Rivers area, living in the bush, to just let my inner child out and free reign. So I just was able to do that for a couple of years, actually, just to explore and to find out like what I'm interested in and what I like to do, and a lot of healing, like really kind of physical healing of eating really good food and good water, and being out in nature and swimming all the time, and doing yoga and dancing and listening to music, and really inspired conversations with people. And then in 1997, it was the day I decided, okay, I know what I want to do. I want to be a performer, and I would like to do circus. And I was playing with friends in the park we were doing circus and just mucking around and doing acro balance with each other. And I had this feeling like, this is what I want to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to dedicate myself and concentrate and focus and actually learn to do this, and then that's what I'd like to do. And I got so excited. I was walking home, I was hitching, because I didn't have a car at that stage or a license, and you just hitched everywhere. And I had my dog with me, and it was sunset. It was a sunset moment, and a freak accident happened where a lady she didn't see me. I thought she was pulling in to pick me up and stop. Well, she didn't see me at all. She just ran right into me, and I was knocked out of my body, and I don't remember anything of it other than waking up with a neck brace around me and the ambulance there and the sound of someone screaming. And the first thing I said before I even opened my eyes when I came back to my body is, I'm not dead. I'm not dead, don't worry, because I could just hear somebody screaming like they thought they'd killed me, and I just knew it was the driver. And actually I was very lucky. I had really, for what happened, to be hit by a vehicle. I mean, she wasn't going super fast, but she was still going 50 k's an hour, and a vehicle hitting a body at that speed, usually there's quite a bit of damage, but apparently I just sort of bounced, and I had soft tissue and nerve damage, really a lot of that kind of damage, but no broken bones. I did break a bone, and luckily no head injuries. And the interesting thing that happened was that when I left my body, I remember what happened when I left my body. I kind of left my body, and I had this experience of being everything. Like, I was just consciousness, and I wasn't separate, and there was nothing to do or go or any movement anywhere. I just was one. And I remember that feeling. And I could have just stayed there, but there was this little inkling, and it was actually my dog. It was like my dog, reached and tapped my shoulder and was like, hey, hey. But I didn't have a shoulder because I didn't have a body. I was just consciousness, but that's the closest thing I can describe to what it felt like. It was like he just tapped. And I was reminded that I had a body and a life. And then there was this choice. I mean, these are words, that's the closest I can come to describe. It's like this choice of, I can go back into my body, but if I did that, then I really was to be in my body, because prior to that I left my body a lot, just through the trauma when I was a child. It had this really almost automatic, whenever I got stressed or frightened, I'd just leave my body. I didn't even realise it, that I was doing it, but that moment where I was like, yes, I want to come back. There's things I'm not finished. And it wasn't easy getting back into my body. Like, I felt like I had to densify myself. Like I had to almost make it happen, like densify and sort of differentiate myself. And then I was back in my body, and then I gained consciousness. I woke up, and I kind of forgot a little bit, like it was hazy, that experience. And it wasn't until later on that I remembered, like, there was a real journey in coming back to earth, and I need to heal. And I started, because I couldn't move after that accident. I actually couldn't move, and I was bedridden for a few months actually, and I had to let everyone help me because I couldn't do anything, and I was in pain. And I learnt a lot from that. I had to, because I was very independent and I didn't know how to let people help me, so that was a big journey, to just allow for people to help me. And the other gift that, because I did actually know that it was a gift. After the sort of first initial couple of weeks of going, why me, why did this happen? I just want to go and do circus. I don't want to be out of action, and I just want to get back into life again. And then I remembered the experience of why I'd chosen to come back into my body, and I knew there was a real healing journey, and it was about healing in a whole other way. It was really, I had to release a lot of grief, and I had to connect with I call it my creative spirit. And during that period of like recuperation. So my friend gave me crayons and scrap paper because I would not draw. I would say about myself that I'm not creative. That's what I would have said. I have no imagination. And I actually believed that back then. I believed that I didn't have an imagination, and anyone who knows me now, it just seems ridiculous because that's how I made my living for 8 years, was making up shows and doing them and traveling all around the world. But back then, I actually believed that I didn't have an imagination and that I wasn't creative. And because I was stuck in bed, she gave me these crayons and scrap paper, and she said, you can't wreck that paper, because that's what I was afraid of. Like, oh, I'll just make a mess. I won't be able to do anything nice. That no one will, I'll just make a mess of it. She said, you can't make a mess of that. So I started to let myself just draw for fun. And the interesting thing was what I drew was angels. And I'd never even thought about angels or talked about them, or they'd been in my awareness. And I just kept coming. I just draw. Like, I drew hundreds of angels, and they all came with little blessings. And I'd give them to people. Like, I'd just feel someone and I'd just go, oh, and then a little angel. I'd have to draw a little angel, and then a little blessing would come, and I'd just, post it off. And what I know now, looking back and looking at the drawings, is that it's like my star family and my angelic aspects were connecting with me, and something really magical happened in that healing process. And that was a real awakening. It was a real awakening, and I had a very different life from that time onwards, and it's just developed and grown and expanded. And what I do now with my voice and with light and crystals, I never knew that I would be doing such things, or that I would remember my multidimensional aspects and be working multidimensionally and being able to work with energy in such a way. And I haven't done very many courses to learn it. It's just been a process of remembering, and my heart, connecting with my heart and awakening my heart, and really healing, so much heart healing. Oh my goodness, so much. There was one course that I did that was a real doorway opener, and that was Jikiden Reiki in Ireland. And I feel like I like to just speak about that, because that really opened up I feel like it opened up my etheric chakras and activated those dormant parts of my DNA. And once that came online, it was very simple. I just started to remember a whole lot more of how to work with light and frequency, and I didn't really do much more training after that, but I got trained by my multidimensional aspects. They just would come and be with me for periods of time and show me how to stay in my heart and work with the fifth dimensional frequencies, and to sing to the earth, and to use my voice and to channel the light language and let it come through. And my heart was awakened in a very ordinary place. It was a cafe in West End, but it was an extraordinary person, Nash Thors, who was the first time I'd ever heard light language. And we were having a cup of tea, and it was a so-called chance encounter. And I remember he walked up to me at a market and he just said, "You've got so much light around you. What?" He just wanted to know what I did. "What do you do?" And I was like, "Well, I'm a performer, and I have a flea circus, and I do a stunt water skiing show in a blow-up pool." And he's like, "Oh, no." He's like, "Do you like to have a cup of tea? I'd just like to have a chat with you." And I went, "Oh, sure, okay." So we met the next day and had a cup of tea, and during that cup of tea in the cafe in West End, he's like, "Oh, this always happens to me in cafes." And one hand went on my heart like that, and the other hand went up like this. and he just started speaking this language, and it's like my heart just went boom, this sonic boom, and it opened up, and tears just poured out. It was such a beautiful feeling, and my heart just went whoosh, and I just felt different. And from then on, we met up for maybe about 9 months. We just hung out, and I just allowed my heart activation, because that's what it was a heart activation. It just developed, and he kind of held space with me while I remembered, because he was already speaking light language and was working as a psychic and was working with the earth energy. So I just went along with him, and he really helped and held this space for me to just explore and develop what I do now. So, and there's countless people actually from the point of him onwards. There's countless people that have supported me and just been part of my awakening. Like I just think of all the people that have gone before me, all the women and men that have worked with spirit and believed in themselves, and even when it wasn't a normal thing to be working with crystals or to working with energy or to even thinking that we have a light body, there are people that were the front runners for that. And I got to awakening and just come out and be able to just speak light language off the bat, pretty much, because there was a space that was already created for me to do that from these people that have so bravely came before me. And I feel really grateful to those people for the role that they played and what they have given me, and I know a lot of other people. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.